Hey everybody, this is Andy. I am back from my hiatus. I did finish the package. One of my followers asked about this. The musical package I have been working on for quite some time. I finished one day before the May 15th deadline. I sent out an email blast to the pertinent people on May 14th, and if you would like a forward of that email, just let me know and I'll forward it to you. So all you need is to give me an email address and I can get that information to you. Also, you can go to edeninbabylon.com, and on the menu sidebar and also the lower menu, you will see words that pertain to the components of musical theater, such as synopsis, characters, concept, script, score, demo, tracks, the whole thing. It's all there. Just click on any of those words on those links and it will lead you to all the marvels of a musical theater package for a new musical. And you can hear the music, but don't be fooled that you're going to hear it like it is on stage, like it's going to be live or even in recordings. The demo is sparse, or Spartan as they say nowadays. It scarcely represents the whole grandeur of the show. The tracks are accompaniment tracks. There are 41 of them, but they will accompany the singers, and the singers are represented in the vocal score, but you will not hear any sounds. It might help if you know how to read music, but anyway, I'm rapping on. I just want to make sure that it's not the kind of thing where you can just go to SoundCloud and hear a bunch of hip sounds. These are the bits and pieces of the package, and all of them comprise the total package. All of them put together form everything that is needed in order to produce the musical Eden and Babylon. There will be no need for live musicians. There will be no need to pay them or take up space using them. There will not even be a need for a piano rehearsal accompanist, and that's a good thing because I think nobody can play my score. That might be a little bit arrogant of me, but I don't even think I can play it. Let's put it that way, even though I am a piano player, and if you want to hear my piano music, it is at youtube.com/Starsworth. So I want to get on now and talk about the 7 forms of love. Some of this comes from the work of Ekaterini Constantine, who is a practicing therapist in Santa Monica, California. She also happens to be certified in EMDR, which is used in the treatment of PTSD, and I was drawn to her work through a couple people, Jenna Birch and Natalie Arroyo Camacho. I read many articles, and a lot of them seemed not to be authoritative, but there was kind of a bandwagon. Some people were saying there were more than 7 words, like 9 or 10, and some of the definitions did not seem right, but this person, Ekaterini Constantine, who identifies as a Greek and works in California as a therapist, seemed to present the clearest and probably the most authoritative stuff that I read. And I will be spinning off of that with my own interpretation, but I looked at this and decided that there were certain variants of the words that are used for love in ancient Greek and that are all translated into the single word love in modern English that pertain to nuances in their meanings that have corresponded to personal experiences. So I'm going to give you my take on this whole thing starting now. The first of these words, ludus, is actually, according to Constantine, a Latin word. The Greek word was erotoropio, and again, I make no pretension to pronounce ancient Greek correctly, so bear with me if you're a linguistic scholar. Erotoropia, or ludus, is playful, flirtatious love. Now, this is the one that among the 7 I would least identify as love, as actual love, but there's something loving about it. Constantine talks about how when people are flirting or they're first starting to maybe feel each other out for a possible date or encounter that maybe might morph gradually into a more meaningful relationship, something along the lines of a one-night stand where, which of course I don't indulge. I mean, I don't believe in one-night stands. I'm a Christian, and I just don't think casual sex is something that ought to be engaged. But, it's obviously romanticized and even glorified in our culture, but I think that's one of the main things that's wrong with our culture. That's my personal opinion. However, whenever I have flirted with somebody, I have usually felt that I'm just responding to their energy, and I'm a little bit visceral or empathic in that way. I don't think that I don't know what happened with the video just then, but it was something really strange. Everything went dark and I could no longer see my image in this mirror-like contraption. But anyway, I don't think that when I flirt with somebody, it's a form of love, but the point that is being made here about erotopia is that it's a playful kind of love. The commonality in everything that has been said about ludus, or erotoropia rather, is recreation. And I would extrapolate to this that people who engage in sports, like a basketball team, a football team, you see the players hugging each other, sometimes baseball players hugging each other after the game. This kind of thing, I would think, is ludus, is this form of playful love. And moreover, I've done a lot of musical theater, and there's a camaraderie in the cast that swells and builds up until opening night, and then after opening night, when the show goes well, everybody's hugging each other. There is a form of love in that experience, and I think that qualifies as ludus or erotoropia. Now, let's go on to the next form of love, and like I said, this is I felt it a lot doing shows, and also my dad, who was a musician, a working musician, played in Dixieland bands, he told me early on that the camaraderie among musicians is like no camaraderie he had ever known, and that I would know that camaraderie, and I have, although I've known it more in musical theater than playing in bands, to be quite frank. Now, the second one I want to deal with, and again, I don't know that I'm pronouncing this correctly, it's philotia, which is compassionate self-love, according to the people who wrote this article, who drew from the work of Constantine. I found in some other sources that they thought it was a little bit ironic that philotia is used not only for the type of self-love that involves compassionate self-care, taking some quality time for yourself, healing up, resting, replenishing your resources, and all these positive spiritual things, but also narcissism and hubris is covered in the same word, even though those would seem to our modern sensibilities to be nearly opposite meanings. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but this is self-love, basically, and we all know that that is a form of love. The third one is very interesting. This is called pragma. This is committed companionate love. This is like, for example, when a couple people get married and they form that union, that partnership, their love for each other might grow gradually over time as they kind of grow into each other and know and accept more about each other, and they sort of seem as one. Like, if you've ever seen these married couples whom you know have been married for 40 years, and they just, every time you see them, you sense that there's something about them that is just inexorably close. You know, they are like an item, like we say nowadays, like one entity, the two people in this partnership. And I think this would also apply to other types of arrangements, contractual or non-contractual, just friendships that grow over time. Pragma is that type of love. And now we are left with the four forms of love that made it to New Testament Greek, and the first of these is storge. C.S. Lewis, the author of a book called The Four Loves, who is a famous Christian author, says that storge is responsible for 90% of the happiness that we experience here on earth. And storge is basically the affection that we have for family, that a mother has for her son, a father has for his son or daughter, family love. This is a wonderful experience when you get together with your homies. You know, they may ruffle your feathers from time to time, but you generally don't desert them because they are yours, and you are them, and there is a lasting happiness that comes from this type of love. This leads up to the next form of love that we find in New Testament Greek, which is called philia, P-H-I-L-I-A, philia, however that is pronounced. And this is the love of friendship that friends make with each other. Like, I have a good friend, we've been friends for 30 or 40 years, we're always loyal to each other. When I meet with my friend, and there are a handful of such people, I'm fortunate to have a few good friends, and when we meet up, and if we haven't seen each other for a few years, it's especially noticeable that I feel warm inside after I depart from this occasion. I get back on the bus or the train or the plane, and I go back to where I was going before I visited them, full of fond memories, not only of the recent visit, but of all the times I've spent with this friend. That is philia, the love that takes place in friendship. And now we're coming up to eros, which is romantic love, and it's also erotic love. There's sort of three elements here: sensual, erotic, and romantic, or you might say physical, sensual. All this stuff is intertwined in eros. So it's the same word for a romance as it is for a sexual encounter. And this is a form of love. And it says in the Bible, in the early chapters of Genesis, that, a man will leave his father and his mother and cleave unto his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Now, disregarding the man, the woman, the leaving of the father and the mother, we all know the union, this sexual union where the two become one flesh. And it's a very meaningful form of love when that happens. At other times, it's just almost the most meaningless encounter that there is. As we all know, getting drunk in a bar, meeting somebody, waking up next to somebody who you don't remember because you were in an alcoholic blackout. All that stuff is kind of ugly, but the true act of making love, like we used to call it in a bygone era, maybe 60s, 70s, you want to make love to somebody, we say that because it is a form of love, and there's a gentle union there, and it's soothing, and it elevates our humanity when it happens. Finally, agape, and this is, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others, the highest form of love. Agape, or agape, is a Greek word for universal love, unconditional love, love that expects nothing in return, love for the sake of love. This is the love that God is defined as in the first letter of the Apostle John when he says God is love. This is the love he's talking about. God is love. This is the love that has the power to save humanity, because God has the power to save humanity. And Christ died for us. When he died for us, it was the fullest act of agape. John says, greater love has no one than this, that one would give their life for their friends, lay down their life for their friends. That's what Jesus did. That's a form of self-sacrificial love. And it doesn't have to be a great sacrifice to be agape, because you're giving without expecting anything in return. So if you're even just sacrificing your expectation to receive out of what you've given, you are performing agape, and you are implementing that form of love. When I was a young Catholic boy growing up, in the 50s, I read in the Bible that we had, the family Bible, and I was taught in Sunday school that this love is defined as goodwill in action. So you might have goodwill to somebody, but when it is in action, and they're actually receiving something tangible from you that helps them, that is agape. And again, you don't expect anything in return. This is the love that the golden rule is based on. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If everybody in the world exercised this love towards each other, which right now we are not hardly at all. Money has become much more important than love, and greed is running rampant in this society. There are people who think only about themselves, only about how much money they can make, and whether they trample on other people in the process is irrelevant, because everyone is out for themselves. That's the kind of atmosphere that we live in nowadays, and frankly, it's part of the human condition. It's part of what Jesus died for. But we don't need to live that way. And when love is awakened in our society, in our culture, en masse, on a global level throughout the world, I have no doubt that love will save the world. So these are the 7 forms of love, and I chose a certain order, going from what seems to me to be the least likely form of love, although I have experienced ludus, that form, erotoropia, when I've done musical theater and everybody has bonded together. There really actually is a love, but then after the show, after the strike, 2 or 3 days later, everybody will be just kind of, snidely smirking at each other, looking away with their eyes. There's a kind of downer that comes because that love is very ephemeral. It's temporary. It doesn't last for long. It's love that is based on a recreational activity. And unfortunately, in our society, there are people who indulge recreational sex, which I think is just a great travesty, because sex is supposed to be holy. It is an act that is consecrated in a devoted, committed relationship between two people, and it's not something that's supposed to be scattered to the 4 winds, as this culture has led us to believe we can do. And I understand this is all going to sound very old-fashioned to many people, but this is what I believe. So from that form of love that is based on recreation all the way up to the form of love that wants nothing for oneself in return, goodwill in action, unconditional love, self-sacrificial love, universal love. That's what's going to save humanity. And this is my little sermonette for the evening. I hope you all enjoyed it and gained from this. Thank you and good night.